How about you? Put it on fire.
I would like to welcome you all to the seminar about fraud. I set this up because I felt this was an important and current topic that people need to know. One of the main reasons I selected this project is because of my grandma. She has been contacted several times by people trying to get her to give her money or personal information. Most recently, she received a phone call that used AI. It generated my voice to mimic me. The voice told her that I had been in a car accident and that I needed money for the hospital. Luckily, she remembered that we had talked with her about this kind of fraud. It made me think about people who didn't have anyone to warn them about the people that are out there trying to prey on others using a variety of methods. This is why I chose to work to put together this seminar. But a little about me. I'm a local resident of Milltown for most of my life. I have attended both Parkview School and Joyce Kilmer. When I graduated from JK, I was recognized with the David B. Craver Award for the service to the community. I have been a Boy Scout for about 13 years of my life, and as I have gotten older, I've noted that fraud was a major issue. When I started looking for a project to earn my Eagle Scout Award, I decided that I wanted to try to educate others about some frauds that exist today instead of doing just, as a bench. I'm excited to have two experts here today with us to teach us about some aspects of fraud. First, we will hear from Shirley Bowers from AARP. She is an AARP volunteer with the Speaker Bureau and resides in Middlesex County. Now retired, she continues her dedication to community service by volunteering for 3 nonprofit organizations. AARP, which supports, provides resources, and protects our senior community with two which focus on empowering women. Enhanced with her extensive work experience in human resources, her dedication in supporting the education, protection, and support of our seniors continues through her volunteer activities with AARP. She will be presenting 2 topics. After Ms. Bowers speaks to us, we will hear from Officer Farmer in the back. He is a lifelong resident in Milltown. He started working for the Milltown Police Department in 2003 and was a patrol officer for 12 years of his life. He then became a sergeant in the Detective Bureau, which he has been in that role for the last 9 years. Following the presentation, we will have a brief Q&A session if anybody has additional questions. Ms. Bowers.
Thank you, Scott.
You're welcome.
Well, good afternoon. Well, I personally want to thank Scott, not just for today's presentation, but for his commitment to taking care of folks like us. And I can't tell you how many times in working for AARP, I've been a volunteer since 2020.
We'll wait.
That's okay.
Sorry.
No, that happens. I just don't want anybody to miss my important moments here at AARP. So why was I drawn to AARP? I'm a former HR executive. I was over HR for a healthcare system in Middlesex County. Some of you will know it, JFK. And it merged with Hackensack Meridian. That's enough name dropping. What's important about it is I was more involved in making sure we hired people, the right people, and we made sure healthcare had access. Because healthcare is important to all of us, right? Mm-hmm. So then, after having a career that long, I said, well, I don't want to sit home and do nothing. So what can I do? Well, AARP had its appeal because it was talking about things that not only affect my family, but affect all of yours. So I said, well, that's going to be meaningful. And by the way, just for a side joke, and then I'll get serious, my husband said I had to get out of the house when I retired. And the one thing that happened in the early days when I joined AARP is they eliminated the Walmart greeter position. So I came home and I said, babe, it's not looking good. And he said, what? I said, they've eliminated the greeter position, but I'm joining AARP. So that was it. That's my introduction. And now let's talk a little bit more about AARP and why it was founded. AARP was founded, some of you might know this story, over 60 years ago. The woman who founded it was out and about in the neighborhood and found one of the people that she worked with over the years living in a chicken coop. And she couldn't understand why this woman who worked all her life couldn't afford a roof over her head. So she did some research, and with the proper backing, she set up AARP to help folks like us who work all our entire lives so we could keep the money we earn and we could be able to afford safe places to live. So that's kind of, you might want to look up a little more about it, but it was an interesting story and it really touched my heart because, you know, I've never lived in a chicken coop, but, you know, we have people who are homeless and we have to care about them. So, and we want to make sure that none of us is homeless. So that's a little bit of background about how AARP started. Why are we talking about fraud? Well, fraud is one of the things that AARP has started doing a lot of work on because we are what we call prime territory as seniors. We are what they call easy targets. I don't like that term. Never call me easy. But they look at us and they think they can convince us to part with our information, our personal information, so they can set up fake accounts. And they look at us so they can say, hey, you got a few dollars you can lend me or give me. So we are really, really seriously at AARP trying to make sure that we can help everyone who comes to us or bring information to them like we're doing today, so you can protect yourselves. Because while it's a fight out there, we still can win it. So some of the things we're going to be talking about today, it's a conversation that I hope, you know, with the material that we handed out, the one on the fraud network basics, how many of you get on the computer periodically? All right, that's good. These are all legitimate websites, and I want to say that, and I mean, we'll probably hear from our local law enforcement about how to be careful and be careful of those fake websites. I just got one this morning. I think the report junk and delete and block is my new conversation right now. But this is important. There are things we're going to talk about today that you're going to say, I want more information on. You'll get it. We have it. So let's get started. What's our agenda? Next slide. The agenda today, we're going to talk about fraud trends, how we react to fraud, and that's going to be sort of an emotional conversation, how we treat each other when fraud happens. Prevention strategies, very important. We'll talk about some of them today, and then there are more that you can learn from the resource information that we handed out. All of this information is something that you'll learn today, but you'll take away more that you can have at your fingertips. And then we want to talk about, again, the resources, other resources that AARP provides. Okay. Trends. How many of you think you've been approached, or you know somebody who's been approached? I know Scott told us about his information. With someone who's trying to scam you.
Almost every day.
Good. But the important thing is that you're starting to recognize it. Because sometimes it really does look and sound like it's real. And because we are generally, I know I was brought up in the trusting generation, and it's taken me a while to become as cautious as I need to be. So when I get the call, and you talked about that, when you get the call, you have to pause. You just can't continue with that call. You have to figure out something else to do. When you get that email, you have to go in and check that website, the response, and you have to do something about it. You just can't hit return and send a response. So those are the things that we're going to be talking about and helping you develop. You probably have enough strength, but more energy around this because it just happens every day.
Every day?
Every single, yeah.
Easily.
There are billions of dollars that are being scammed. And the AARP did a report in 2022, and billions of dollars are being scammed. And the scams, again, are happening every day, whether it's email, a phone call, somebody pretending to be from a company. We're going to talk a little bit about that in the presentation. But every single day, every hour, it's a business, by the way.
A business?
The scam networks and the
business.
people, it's a business.
Oh, yeah.
It's not a local person who says, oh gee, I just met Shirley. And the reason I'm picking on Shirley is I hear there are two Shirleys in the room. Me and, where's the other one? Hi Shirley. I don't hear their name enough. But what's important is it's not always just you're the individual. This is a network. When somebody calls us and they think they have gotten in to us, they contact some other people in their network, because if the scam they're trying doesn't work, there's another one we can play with.
Wow.
There's a playbook on scamming. It's not something that you should really sit there and say, oh, that's happening to Shirley, it wouldn't happen to me. It's something to take very seriously. But know that we can take care of it. Because we got through life this far, right? Who's got a little more energy to fight the scammers? I know I do. Because you have to fight them. Next slide. Fraud and its impact on us. Now we're going to talk a little bit about numbers, because I think it's important. Let's first talk about fraud on the next slide in the broader context. You'll see two sides to the slide. The larger circle on the left is elder financial exploitation. Very fancy word, but what does it mean? It means somebody's illegally or unauthorized trying to get at your information, our information, and also take advantage of us. Have you heard of stealing property? Titles.
Yes.
That's part of the fraud world. I mean, you'll hear more about it probably later, but again, it's part of it. It is a business. It's not just one thing. But it's a bigger network, and it can be. This is what's important: a trusted person, somebody that we know. It's not always stranger danger, as the expression used to be. It's not always the stranger.
No.
Sometimes it's someone we know, because unfortunately that's the world that we live in. On the right, on the smaller circle, we've got the word fraud, which we're going to talk a little bit more about today. And that's really just defined as the intent to get money from us, to take advantage of us. It's not the bigger issue. So that's where you find more of the stranger danger activities. But again, it's a big, wide network. Next slide. Here are some examples and words that may mean something to you as we talk through the rest of the presentation. Going back to elder financial exploitation, embezzlement. Embezzlement is one of the ways, falsifying records, actually filling out records and pretending that they're us. Shirley Bowers wants to buy this property. People have bought property in other people's names. People have stolen people's properties in their name. Coerced property transfers is what we talked about. And denial of access to our assets. People get our names and they can change our accounts. Guess what? We can't get into our accounts. Bigger picture. But it is something, again, that we can fight against. On the right, let's talk a little bit about fraud, which we're going to spend time today talking about. Those imposter scams, romance scams. I see some heads shaking, but those romance scams are getting bigger and bigger.
Oh, yeah.
More and more, you'll hear more and more about
Scary
them. We'll
stuff.
talk a little bit about them today. Lottery scams and identity fraud. How about those, we'll talk about each of those so you have a little more information. So I'm not going through this too quickly for you. We're going to have slides and talk a little about those, okay? Next slide. This one is one that I want you to give a little attention to because I'm sure you know about it. Are older people the only ones who are being scammed? No. Younger people get scammed, and they report losing money more often. They're familiar with the technology, they're familiar with contacting fraud networks. They do that a little bit more. And based on the numbers here, 43% of those 20 to 29 have experienced fraud. For us, it's 23% when you go into that 70 to 79. And this is from the survey. There are other surveys out there, but this is the one we're talking about. But why am I making a little bit of a difference? The amounts that the younger people are losing are less. When the people come after us as seniors, they want it all. So if we have saved from working hard $100,000, they want to find a way to get all of that $100,000, whether they get it all at once or whether they find different ways of taking and building in more areas. And again, I'm not trying to instill fear, but I'm trying to instill knowledge. So it's yours to take away with this. And we have so much more to lose because it's not just the money. Next slide. But we'll talk a little bit about the money, because I know that question came up when I said, I know the eyes went up a little when I said billions. The Federal Trade Commission did a study in 2022, $8.8 billion. It's a lot of money. A lot of money. And now it's going even higher. The FBI had reported $10.3 billion in cyber crime in 2022. These are numbers that we have to say, okay, I don't have $1 billion, but you know what? All of our money adds up as this business sends out, recruits people, and sends out those folks to come after us. So we have a lot to really work on and protect. And the other thing I say about it is one of the reasons I'm here is I'm not here just to protect my accounts with my family. I want to protect all of our accounts. And the last one is Javelin did a report. That's a separate private company. And what they reported was $43 billion in identification, ID fraud. So the reason I bring up the numbers is you want to sit there and say, how big a problem is it, Shirley? It's big. Again, we can fight and we can win, but it's big. Next one. So let's talk a little bit about the top scams. Some of these will be very familiar to you. I'm going to start with the column on the left. Social Security Administration, the IRS, Medicare, Federal Trade Commission, U.S. Postal Service, all familiar, right? I'm going to talk about them a little bit because I need you to understand the examples that we're working with. Social Security, you get that letter that from just out of the mail, somebody says, or an email, we need to verify your Social Security number. It says Social Security Administration on top because you can copy anybody's logo. We need to verify your Social Security number. Well, why is that a red flag?
You should already know your number.
Bingo. Thank you. The reason I'm trying to get us to talk is, yeah, you guys are smart. I hope I'm smart or smarter when I leave today. But it's important to know, Social Security doesn't need to send a letter, an email, or call you to verify anything. They have all that information. As does the IRS. If you don't think the Internal Revenue Service has all our information, we'll talk after at the end for questions. Medicare, again, all of that information is housed within their network and files. It's not something they have to send out an email for. They will not, and it's important to stress this, these agencies will not take that approach to contact you. So the first time you get that notification, whether it's an email, whether it's a letter, whether it's a call, you need to know and say, stop, check it out. and you check with those agencies. And there are abuse websites that you can refer some of this to if it comes in an email. But again, it's something that you need to know. FTC the same way. I want to spend a little time, maybe not so much, but on the Postal Service. People are riding around stealing our mail. If you hear about it in your neighborhood and it's something that happens here, then that's something just to be aware of. But understand, they're not only doing it there, they're stopping the trucks. They're going to, you know how you drop, because we still do it, I do. You know how you drop your mail in the cute little blue boxes? Thank you, don't do that. If anything, if you have access to your local post office, they have one inside that you can use that one. Because people have actually picked up and driven off with the mailbox if they don't have time to empty it out while they're there. Because depending on the location, that might be an issue. So that's what's going on the government side. Hey, everybody's innovative here. You can try anything to get, to get what they want. On the business side, how many of you gotten the notice? How many of you have Amazon accounts?
Oh, what was that? I didn't hear.
How many of you have Amazon accounts? Amazon.
Amazon.
Have you gotten a notice from Amazon? We're trying to deliver this package, but we're unable to because we've got to verify your information. It usually comes in a text or an email. Amazon doesn't use letters, but it usually will come in that format. Well, guess what? Amazon's not going to do that either. So, because they have your information, they have your address. So they don't need to call you, you don't need to call them back and say, I live here, my credit card number is this, no, they have that information. But that has become more and more of an issue. Some towns, and I hope I'm not stealing any of your thunder, but some towns have actually removed some of their boxes outside in certain areas. But yeah, that's what's going on the post office side too. Utility companies also, guess what? Your electric bill's about to be shut off. How many of you should say, oh my goodness, let me run and pay that now? Another example. FedEx and UPS, all those delivery companies, they have ways of notifying you of a delay. It's not going to be, we need more information from you. Norton, which is actually out there to protect us, but now there are fake emails coming out. I see you nodding your head. I've actually got one of those. So you do have to be careful. And you have to look at and call the number or go to the email you have for your Norton account, not the one that's in that text or that email. I know it feels like extra work, and kind of it is, but guess what? The more you do it, the more you protect yourself, and they move on. We won't stop them at all at once, and maybe we will stop them over time and in the future, but that's one way of stopping. Microsoft, same thing. If you have a Microsoft account and you get that email, it says, we've temporarily suspended your Microsoft account. Click here and we will reinstate it. What do you think? Don't click it. You know how to reach, if you have a Microsoft account, you know how to reach Microsoft. Next slide. So what we're going to conclude here, and I've said it in part of this, the government and businesses, they don't contact you out of the blue with a problem. Contact the entity at a trusted phone number, which we've talked about. And most importantly, I did talk about that, make no payments. Don't give away anything. Don't give them access to your money or your information. That's the general rule. Our money, our information, where are we going to keep it? To ourselves. And again, this is just reinforcing what we talked about. If you have an issue, contact Amazon directly. Don't go with what's happening here. It's just going to keep happening until we get more things to stop it, more government support, more rules and regulations, more ways to stop them. But they are businesses. They are wide network businesses, and a lot of them are out of the country. So it's not something that, it's not just going on within our borders. So, next. Is she
Trying to steal their money. Here is what to watch out for. You haven't placed an order, but you get an email or text that looks like it's from Amazon saying your order has been confirmed. You're then directed to click a link or call a number if the information is incorrect. Don't take the bait. You're notified about suspicious charges on your account and steps you need to take to address the issue. But taking these steps always spells trouble, so it's best not to engage or respond. You get a call or text saying a Prime account has been taken out in your name. You're requested to call a number to straighten things out, but that number goes to a scammer who's out to steal your money as well as your personal information. If you think you have an issue, contact Amazon directly. For more tips, go to aarp.org/fraudwatchnetwork.
That website's in your resource guide, so it's something that you should pay attention to on that. I don't know if this one is one of my favorite, but it's one of the most widely talked about out there. Sweepstakes and lotteries. How many won $1 million? Okay. Couldn't catch you on that.
Then I usually wake up right afterwards.
Okay. Fair enough. The important thing is these scams are probably the easiest thing to pick up on. The other ones that we're talking about, they take a little more of your time and they take a little more of your effort. But it's very easy to figure out one of these lottery scams, one of these sweepstakes scams. They usually say to you, "Hey, Shirley," not that Shirley, this Shirley, "you've just won a vacation, and isn't it great? And it's a vacation to a place you've always wanted to go." But what do? The only thing you have to do is send in a certain fee, so we can then send you the information and you can confirm your vacation and have a lovely time. Well, that's your first fly. The other ones, lotteries do the same. They want you to pay taxes. Gee, I thought I paid enough taxes already on my own. Why do I have a company I've never heard of? The other thing that I'll make you laugh about, Publishers Clearinghouse. The latest scam with them is phone calls. Well, guess what? Publishers Clearinghouse has not changed its MO. And what's its MO?
Gotcha.
The personal come to your house, knock on your door. I mean, I don't, I haven't heard of anybody in my neighborhood who's won, but they're still using that approach. So if you get the call that says you won it, that's definitely a red flag, because they don't call. It's just not that kind of lottery. It's still sweepstakes, but it's still sweepstakes out there. I was surprised because I looked it up and I said, "Is there still a Publishers Clearinghouse sweepstakes?" Yes. Okay. So what indicates a sweepstakes scam? We just talked about it. A request to pay a fee or taxes or customs duties before collecting it, because some of these prizes are coming from out of the country. Winning a sweepstakes you've never heard of. Being asked to buy gift cards, we'll talk about that separately as well, and share the numbers before being given a prize. Or is it all of the above? How many of you think
All of the above?
all of the above? Thank you. Each and every one of these is a way that people are trying to get at us and trying to take our money. It's not just one. They're creative if nothing else. They spend time. This is what they do. This is their business. Okay. Online romance scams. We actually have a separate presentation that we're going to talk about online relationships and part of that is romance scams. But I did want to talk about these two slides because they put them in the presentation. There is, we've developed another way of communicating. I knew a woman that I know, she was communicating with people all over the country. They were playing a word game. It was legitimate. Nobody was asking her for money. They were just happily playing their word game, and after so many, there was a winner out of the group. The one thing that you have to look at is when you're online, if somebody wants to move you away to another way of communicating, meaning it comes in under one website address, and then they say, why don't you go to my personal, because we're personal, we're friends. Definitely a red flag. The other one is in romance, and we'll talk about that a little bit as well, more in the other presentation. It's love at first sight. How many of you had love at, I was walking down the street, I looked across the street, and bam, bam, it's there. Definitely a red flag. And the other thing is about online is you never meet the person. They're never a human being. They're never like you and I in this room, standing here looking at each other, walking around. If we allow each other, we can touch each other's shoulders. You never see them. And the last one, which is the one that's so common nowadays, is the urgent need for money. Somewhere along in that new relationship, whether they call it a friendship, because it might not be always romance, but we're just friends. I'm going to reach out to you and say, Shirley, I have some, my roof needs to, and I don't have all the money. Could you lend me something? I promise I'll give it back to you in the end of the month when I get my check.
No,
Good answer.
right.
So again, these are examples. Next slide. I do want to stress here though, because I've known a couple of people who have, gotten married, moved on. Online's work for them in the romance category. So it's not something that won't happen, but I would stress for you, you got to do a lot of homework. It's as my husband says, we have to do what we call background checks and criminal background checks and more checks. And he's like, and this is how he was with our children. So it wasn't about him and me, but he was like, have we done a criminal background check on this guy? I think, yeah, relax, dear. He's legitimate. Well, that's what goes on in my house. I don't know what goes on in yours. But it can be great, but you still have to do the research. You have to validate. You'll hear me say that word more than once. Validate. You have to be sure of who you're communicating. If you can't validate that that person exists, walk away. The best thing I can tell you is walk away. Next.
Meeting a romantic partner online can be great, but it takes an extra dose of skepticism to stay safe from scammers. Here are some warning signs that a romance scam is underway and the person you are talking to wants more than your love. You meet someone online and after just a few interactions, they profess strong feelings for you. Proceed with caution, especially if they want to take you off the site where you met and chat only by text or another platform. Here's another red flag. Once they gain your trust, which may take months or even years, they might share a hard luck story and ask you to send money or perhaps a gift card to help pay a bill. Don't send any money or buy gift cards at their request. If you do, they will keep asking for more. Con artists have latched onto gift cards as a convenient form of payment in their scams because they are virtually impossible to trace. For more tips on how to spot romance scams, go to aarp.org/fraudwatchnetwork.
Some of these have videos because they're going to reinforce what I say. The one beautiful thing about talking to an audience is sometimes it's worth repeating. So AARP built in a couple of these just to help make sure the message gets through. Next. This is the one we'll spend the most time with, identity theft and identity fraud. theft, your identity's been compromised. Someone's gotten a hold of your credit card information, or someone's gotten a hold of information that the other personal information. Fraud, stolen identity, it's been used. We talked a little bit about that. Somebody's stolen your identity, they've opened up several other accounts. So what's important here is that you freeze your credit. How many of you have unique credit, unique passwords? Passwords for your accounts. When I say, thank you, the question over here, and I know we'll have questions, but unique means you're not saying, it's me, 1, 2, 3. You've got to come up with something that is actually not easy to discover. And, you know, some of the resources that we have can help with that. And there is information to help support that. And the other thing you should do is change your passwords periodically. Set up online accounts and keep your systems updated. How many of you have protection for your? Good. Move that along. How many of us do annual credit reports?
More than that.
Okay, I didn't see enough hands go up. I want to talk about that. You can do that free of charge. There's information in here that will help you get that done. You should actually look and make sure that your credit is not being compromised, that someone hasn't opened another credit card account, someone hasn't purchased something that you didn't, you know, a major property or anything. And those annual credit reports are free. There are 3 companies that provide them. You can use one, and they go through all 3. So consider that just basic protection. We'll talk about that at the end. And identitytheft.gov is also a website that you can use. The government provides that. Okay? 3 ways to keep your security number out of wrong hands.
Who really needs to know your social security number? Here are 3 ways to keep your social security number out of the wrong hands. You might get a phone call from someone pretending to be from the Social Security Administration, asking you to confirm your number. Don't oblige. A Social Security representative doesn't need to call you for this information because they already have it. If you receive documents containing your Social Security number, you should either lock them in a safe place or shred them. If you don't have a shredder, many communities have places where you can drop off sensitive documents and they'll shred them for you. Don't be afraid to ask, do you really need my Social Security number? There are organizations that do require your number. Your employer is one of them. But others might ask for it and they don't really need it, such as your doctor's office or the dentist. They can get that information from your insurance company. For more Social Security tips, go to aarp.org/Social Security.
Another way, some places, you know, online, if you're applying for a job, a lot of times it's online. Companies that ask for your Social Security number should not provide it. Legitimate companies don't need it until they're actually considering you to hire you. They don't need it at the application point. Okay. Gift cards is payment in scams. Next slide. This lists the forms of payment and fraud. I'll start with the biggest one, which is credit cards. And what's important about this slide is while it's talking about the 219 million, that's the total amount, credit cards are the safest route for us. They're much safer than debit cards, which is the next one. And why? Anybody want to tell me why? Credit cards will reimburse you. The debit cards consider that a transaction you authorized, and they wave goodbye, the banks wave goodbye to your money. So there's just a distinction between the two. Cryptocurrency. I don't know anything about cryptocurrency, and if anybody in the room does, we can talk about it at the end. But I'm going to leave that to our next speaker because I can't offer anything on that. But that's another place that money just goes. It doesn't come back to you. bank transfers or payments. If you make a bank transfer, if a fraudulent bank transfer or payment is made, that again is money out the door. You can still fight with your bank, but they're considering that an authorized transaction. So, again, we'll go through some of that later, but those are the ones I wanted to highlight. Gift cards are virtually untraceable. When you buy a gift card, you pay the money for it, it has a number, it's readily converted into cash or Bitcoin, and it has the ability, and the thing about why some of the scammers are so happy to ask for gift cards, and if we fall for that, we give them the gift cards, is they're basically easy amounts to move, because they usually ask for them in hundreds of dollars. It's not small transactions here. Next. AARP has launched a campaign on gift card payment scams because the retail stores weren't doing enough on that. So we have a 3-year commitment, the AARP. Our goal is to take gift cards away as a scam tactic, so we're trying to add, more things to it to prevent being scammed. And we're providing consumer education, media outreach, research into in-store interventions, because we're trying to also work with retail to make that happen. And there's, this website is also in your resource guide. But it's important to know the thing about gift cards is it's just easy money. It's sort of like what I said earlier, it's gone once you've given that gift card away. How do we react to fraud? How do we react to fraud? Okay, I come in and I say, okay, I was scammed. What do you say to me?
How did it happen?
How did it happen? Other things you might say to me, how stupid.
Just feel violated.
Yeah, but how do I feel? I feel violated. Because truthfully, you saw all the ways people are coming at us. It can happen to anybody. So our reaction to it, next slide. Our reaction to it kind of needs to change a little. We need to reframe it. So, because we show empathy if I'm assaulted, you show empathy. Well, we have to start considering financial crimes somewhat of an assault. It's not something we wanted to happen. It's not something we gave permission to happen. So we've got to kind of try to be a little more understanding and help a person really get over it. Next slide. And move from what I said, how stupid could I be? Next slide. Because we've got to talk about our emotions. Why do scammers get to us? They get to us at the right time. They do AI and they convince the family member, that's my grandson. What do I do? I've got to help. I've got to jump in. So we have to change that because we're driven by the ether method, fear, excitement, it's new, it's all those things, and we're not thinking clearly, and we're making rash decisions. Next slide. And we've got that illusion of invincibility. How many of us, well, I don't wear that outfit, but how many of us think that, nothing's going to happen to me? It can't happen to me. I'm special. Well, no, it could happen. And we're here to say today that maybe just change a little, be a little more supportive. Because that person obviously learns their lesson when it happens, but they've been traumatized. And they need some support to get over it, to get past it. Next. Something like, it's not your fault, fraud is a crime. I'm sorry you had to endure this, is a better way than what you said about me earlier. We'll talk about, yeah. Maybe I am stupid, but I was stupid in the moment. I wasn't actually wanting to be stupid every day. So these are kinds of things we want to say. Don't just look at the reasons and what's going to happen. Look at how people feel, because our feelings matter in this case. Next. So instead of saying, I can't believe you got duped, say it's not your fault. How could you fall for that? You can realize, like we're talking today, scamming is a business. The folks who scam us are trained to do what they're trained. They don't just wake up one morning and say, I'm going to be a scammer. So we need to get that empathy side of us that we have naturally as part of who we are and give it to people who've been scammed. Next. So the real world outcomes. What we want is more reporting. What AARP is hoping that we get by doing these things online, having a fraud network, is having it taken seriously. You'll hear from our local police department, and they'll tell you what they're doing. Because every police department, every town has to be aware of it. Prosecutors need to take it more seriously when it comes. Right now, things are really kind of dismissed. And we really want to keep the money where it belongs. That last slide, the billions belong to us. They don't belong to the scammers. So we have to try and put them out of business and not let them harm us in our lives. Next. Prevention strategies. Coming to the end of this presentation. What can you do? Avoid making an emotional decision. Pause for a minute. Do your research, which you've talked about. Even with things, organizations that call themselves charities, you have to check them out. Because some charities may not be really that charitable. Brokers, there are people out there pretending because everybody can print a business card. I wish that wasn't the case, that you had to worry, but when somebody hands you a business card, you have to actually verify, not on the number that's on that card, that they're representing this firm, but you have to call that firm and find out if they work there. Screen your phone calls, watch out for fake calls, and develop a refusal script. What does that mean? No. Well, I also say something because scammers use the words yes and no to get more scams. So I suggest to people that you use some other words that they can't use to open up accounts. Because they're actually using, if you use the word, I had to stop my husband, don't say yes. Just say, huh? Sometimes he listens to me, but sometimes he doesn't want to put me out in the backyard. It's okay.
That's actually pretty good.
Develop a refusal script. It can be anything. I had a wonderful group that I met with, and the woman said, I've got one for you, Shirley. She got one of those horns. More fun. Really? Life can't always be boring. And instead of saying yes or no, she just gave him a hug and hung up. And it was like, or just hang up. It was just, or a whistle. Whistle would be fine. The horn, though, was much funnier. But anyway.
Scream.
Thank you, go ahead. Protect your personal information. We're going to shred. Remember, if you don't have a shredder, see in your town, if you have shredding days and take them there.
We do.
Consider a fraud alert on your credit for your credit reports. Monitor your bills and your financials. Watch over your credit reports. One thing I want to ask here, how many of you have alerts on your credit cards?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, how much, I'm going to give you something to laugh at. Mine's $25. I don't care who knows it. My daughter, who's, part of the millennial, said, $25, Mama, cost that to order takeout. And I go, I want an alert. I want to know everything that's going on my credit card. You can make them zero. If you can make them whenever there's a purchase made. Most people typically make it $50 or a little higher. So I know I'm sort of out of the league with my $25, but we'll talk after. It's been very successful. operating an antivirus software, McAfee, some others. I'm not promoting any, I'm just giving one off the top of my head. You should have them to protect your computer. Keep your passwords private, don't share them, don't leave them on the table, don't leave them on the desk. And use unique passwords. Don't have the same password for all of your accounts.
You have to write them down to know.
Well, if you have the same for all of your accounts, they can drain all of the accounts. If you have different passwords,
For different accounts.
then if they do get to one, you only have to try and fix what happened to that one. Because they're smart. They will try that same password on your other accounts. And they may be faster than you are to fix the problem that you found out about on the first account. These guys, it's a business. I don't like it, but it's a business. So that's why, don't have them for the same.
Okay.
Okay. We'll talk after. AARP, we have a fraud network, which again, we have provided resource information about. I encourage you, whether you're a member or not, we're not trying to get membership, we're trying to make sure we protect our community. So check that out. Next. Resilience, strength, and time. That's what we do with a 1-hour free virtual. You can go online, open to anyone, it's open across the country, and it helps lower stress. Because what I'm talking about, for some of us today, even me, this creates a little stress. I'm going to go home and maybe I'm going to change my alert amount. I might be bringing it down to 15 after this meeting. You all have encouraged me. And having a safe space to talk. When these things happen or when you're worried about these things, you tend not to talk to each other. We need to talk more to people we trust, not to anyone who comes up to us. So again, that information, that website is in your resource guide. Next. And in conclusion, I'm hoping the time we spent on this topic was worthwhile. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, my job is to protect you and maybe change my alert amount to $15 after this. We have another presentation. I don't know how you want to structure that because the romance online relationships. That's a much shorter one, so I will be breezing right through that. This one was over close to 40 slides that we just went through. The other one only has 14, so you know, consider it a little shorter. So if you need to take, do we need to allow a break? What are we doing?
No. Do you want to offer them a bio break? Restroom or get a drink?
If you want to go to the restroom, do any of you guys want a break or no?
No, it's okay.
You good?
Okay.
Okay. Then
Okay.
back to you.
Maybe you need a break.
Okay, you guys thought you were done with me, right? I'm not going
Do you
anywhere.
need one? You need a break?
I can, you know, this is sort of my mission in life. This is where my heart, you know, pumps a little.
I want to segue into the relationship thing.
So our next topic is going to be talking about online relationships. And here we're talking about not only protecting your heart, but also protecting your money. Because the heart side talks about whether we're, you know, finding love and online, or finding a friendship online, and we value those, because we should value our relationships. But the other thing is about money, because that's what we're trying to do and protect you. So the agenda next. We're going to talk a little bit about online relationship scams, what to watch for, because you really need to be able to be online and be on it safely. There's nothing wrong with online relationships. The only thing that's wrong that we've been talking about is the scammers have gotten wind of it and said, oh, there might be a market there. So, but online relationships have been around for a while. How to protect yourself, what to do if you suspect a scam. Next. Meeting people online, we do it for connection. Some of us, play games. Who plays Words with Friends? I can't remember any of the Wordle. Anybody play Wordle? This is for you. This is for you. And we will go through dating site apps. We'll talk about those on the next slide. Connecting with people we meet on social media. Game sites, which is what I'm talking about. Our online chats. Some of us, if we don't have a network in our neighborhood or in our families, what do? We get online and we create those relationships. Next. What percentage of U.S. adults agree that online dating, this is a question for you all, is a good way to meet people? Is it 12%, 37, or 59? Throw out a number, guys.
59.
Bingo, 59. It's moved up quite a bit.
Terrible.
It used to not be that popular, but it is popular.
Get out, I guess.
Yeah.
That's where we live.
So what does it mean? If 59% of us think it's a good thing, the scammers say, well, then there's enough of them out there that we might be able to get make some earnings from. So what do we have? In 2021, FBI reported 24,000. That's 2021. Go quickly to the right. And how about the losses? That's 24,000 people. But how much money? Well, I want to stress here, some of us have a lot of money. And I want to talk to you afterwards because I know it's you have a lot. But anyway, they're targeting every human being. So it's whether you have a smaller savings in your mind or a larger one. They're after us. And, unfortunately, it's resulted in big payoffs. They only go in for the money. 27% of people that were surveyed said they have, or someone they know, has encountered someone online with a scam. 11% say they have, or someone they know, has actually been victimized by an online relationship scam. And the victim...
I'm going to add one thing, just in context. Some of you may have noticed that Scott doesn't look like me. It's because he's adopted. When we were trying to adopt him, I lied to you not, there was more than 50 people who contacted us around the scammers that we actually figured out were scammers to try and get money from us because of the hard luck story about having a baby in a situation before we actually found his birth mother and were able to adopt him. And that was 17 years ago.
50 people. They look to get us where we're vulnerable and our soft spots, where it hurts. Thank you for sharing that.
I know people like that too, unfortunately.
Next slide. 17% from the survey say a friend or romantic partner they have has asked for money. Now what's that? What color flag is that when they ask for money?
Red.
Right, red.
Flag. Is a red flag good or bad?
Bad.
Bad. Red flags are very bad. We don't want them. 53% of victims reported a negative effect on their physical or emotional health. It's more than the money. Taking our money takes part of who we are. It destroys part of who we are. Sometimes we can rebuild it, sometimes we can't. And there's something in between. That's why I talked a little bit about empathy. It really hurts. And some people we're embarrassed, don't want to talk about it. It's something that we keep inside, but it's really very harmful. Next. This is a way to protect yourself. If you see somebody that give you a card that has a picture on it, and they're identifying themselves, these are online relationships, and so remember, a lot of things happen with the photos online and all of that. You can do what they call a reverse check to see if their picture shows up anywhere else. So instead of them being, in this case, David James Gandy, if you do the search online, you can find out that they have 4 or 5 other identities, because it's a market. It's part of what they're trying to do. This we talked about earlier, but I want to repeat it because it's important. They want to move to another means of communicating, meaning their personal email. Professors love early on. Claims to be from the U.S., but they're always traveling. They're always out of the country. Or sometimes it's in the military, they claim. Plans to visit, but guess what? Never happens. And finally, as we've been talking about throughout this, somewhere along the line it becomes the money grab. I just need, until next week, if you can just front me that. I promise you, I'll, just wire it back to your account. No. So what happens if you suspect a scam? We talked about that a minute ago with the photo. Do a reverse scam search on their photo. See if they are who they are. There are other ways of checking them out. I don't know all of them, and AARP with our resource guide, I think we can find more information about that. Cut off contact immediately. I know sometimes we get pulled into our need for relationship and companionship, but sometimes it's better just to say, I'd rather have a stuffed dog. Well, if you have a real dog, that's a lot of work, and we'll talk about that in the end of questions. Don't send money in any form or engage them in investing in them.
Shouldn't even play Monopoly.
The other thing is an investment. I have this startup company. Shirley, it's me. You knew it was going to be me. I'm starting up this company, and I need a little startup money. It's only about $10,000. Could you, give me some or all of that, and I'll give it back to you. And okay, it's a good answer. And contact our AARP fraud network. There's nothing easy about all of this except being vigilant, which is easier than you think. It's better than being pulled in. Next. Our resources. Again, we handed out resources. All of this is on the material that we handed out today. And we also have at the bottom of that on the right the support groups. Because again, as I said, it's a very emotional thing. If any of us have been affected, have been victimized, you've taken part of my confidence, you've taken part of my spirit. So we have to work on that. So we do offer support groups. Next. And in conclusion, common online relationship frauds, we've talked about it, and tactics, what to watch for, and the resources that we've handed out today are available to each and every one of you. And I encourage you to really, really look at it. And anything we can do, as the volunteers for the Speakers Bureau, which is where I am, we go around, we will bring back information if there's a request for it, and we can get it from AARP. We have to have permission, and sometimes it's not in our division. But we will get you information, or we will get you in contact with someone or part of the other AARP world, because I'm part of the Speakers Network, but I'm not in every department. But we can help. Don't forget us. We're here to help. The AARP Speakers Bureau has a number of other topics. Some I'll give you a little fun with to end with. How many of you have any clutter in your house? I knew that was going to come up.
And admit that publicly?
I did a declutter workshop. And I'm happy to come back and do that one. That one has a lot more laughs to it than this one did.
Oh,
So
boy.
anyway, thank you very much. I hope to be talking to you at the end, and we'll get ready and pause.
Can we give a round of applause? Thank you for that. Now we're gonna hand it off to Detective Palmer. I have a question. Are y'all getting value out of this? Out of this meeting? Are y'all having fun?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my fun, but
Okay.
scared a
Wherever you are. I'm gonna hand it off to Detective Palmer now.
All right. For those who don't know me, I'm Detective Sergeant Fama with the Milltown Police. Most of you do know me. We've grown up in different times, right? Everybody here is more trusting and open to welcome people into the group, right? Me, not so much. I'm very skeptic of everybody, any phone calls I get. If I don't know the number, if the name doesn't pop up, I don't answer it, reject it. Right? These are the people you could trust right here in your community, and then your family members that you have outside of this community. Shirley did a wonderful job with that presentation. She went over tons of information. I'm going to just give you a little bit of information of the trends that we've seen and that people have reported, our residents have reported to us. And some have been victims, some have not. They were lucky enough to cut it off before they lost any money or personal information. So the scammers, like Shirley said, it's a business. They don't wake up saying, oh, I'm gonna try this today. No, they get training. A lot of them are overseas, but there are some in the country. You know, you do get the ones that might be local and can be apprehended and arrested, but the majority are out of our reach. All we can do is give you guys the knowledge never to do it again or fall victim again. They're fast talkers. They talk to you so fast so you just don't understand what they're saying. Give the information right away what they're asking for. Again, they ask instantly for cash. If they want cash payments, they want gift cards, which is basically cash in hand. And it's usually people that you haven't reached out to for any reason. It's unsolicited people coming up to your doors, knocking, asking if you want your driveways repaved. Or, like Shirley said, the IRS calling, a grandkid calling saying they've been injured or in a car accident. You didn't ask for them to call, you didn't ask for them to reach out to you. So you just have to be a little bit more skeptical of that. If you didn't ask for them to be there, why are they here? So a good example of that is the most common recently is roofing or paving scams. And a lot of the people that are coming to the doors have an Irish accent. So they come over from the UK and they go to all these different towns, show up in vehicles that look like legit contractor vehicles, have a name and everything on the side of them, but they have an Irish accent. Not to say that's a problem, but it's a common thing that's going on. So they knock on your door and they say, oh, looks like your driveway needs to be fixed. We'll do that for $1,500. And you guys have a huge driveway. Does that make sense?
No.
No. If it's too good to be true, it's not true. So if you hesitate and say, that's a lot of money, or I don't know, I'll have to talk to somebody, I'll do it for $500. They'll knock down the price right away, whatever they can get from you. It doesn't matter how much they get, they just want some kind of money. Just turn them away. Call the police, shut the door, don't even bother with them. If you didn't want that done, there's no reason for them to be there asking for that job to be done. Like Shirley said, online, Craigslist. Not too many people use Craigslist anymore to buy things or sell things. More, it's Facebook Marketplace nowadays. But even on Facebook Marketplace, you have to be really careful. Everybody's getting scammed. They show a nice product, brand new or slightly used. They always ask for you to send some type of money first, and then you'll get the product. But the product never comes.
Oh.
So you just have to think, maybe I should go a better way of obtaining this item that I want. You know, talk to friends, talk to family. Hey, you know anybody selling this item, or you know where I could get this item, or just go to the store and buy it brand new, right?
Oh, God forbid.
So when you're online, you just have to be very careful when purchasing something. Don't ever send money or your personal information out until you get the product, or they have safe zones nowadays, like at the police department. In the parking lot, we have a safe zone exchange. If you make an agreement with somebody online to buy something, you guys can meet up in the parking lot and make a transition there so it's caught on camera at the police station. You turn over the money, they turn over product, and that's a safe exchange.
Do you make an appointment for that?
No, you just arrange that with the individual, whoever's
I see.
selling. And that's a meeting point, and that's where I'd like to do the transaction. So at least we're real close, and it's on camera if we need to get information on the license plate or description of the person. Computer scam's a big problem with the antivirus, or the viruses that pop up, like the big red warnings. You need updated virus, protection on your computer. Click this button and we can help you. Again, don't do it. Contact the Geek Squad at Best Buy. Contact somebody you know in your family, right? Ask them if this should be done, because if you do click on it, again, Shirley covered a lot of information. They're going to say, hey, we can help you, but then again, they're going to say, call this person, or somebody chimes in on the line as you're talking to them and say, oh, speak to this person, and it's a different platform. You're on this different phone number now, then they say, email me here, and then eventually they're going to ask you to go to Home Depot, Target, and buy gift cards, which does not make sense to pay for anything, right? Since when do we pay or our bills or fines for anything with gift cards? We don't. So everybody just needs to be a little bit more skeptical about people asking for the money in a different form. Bitcoin. I don't know much about Bitcoin, but they're going to say Bitcoin. Go to the Milltown convenience store. I don't know if they still have it. I haven't been there in a little while. They used to have a Bitcoin machine. Go to that machine. They send you a QR code on your phone, the scrambled little design that's in a square, and they tell you to scan it, and you have to deposit money into the Bitcoin machine. Again, you're never going to see that money again. It's gone. As soon as you scan it, it's overseas, it's in a different state, and there's no way of getting it back. Okay? So, again, Shirley covered it. I said in the beginning, companies, IRS, Amazon, they're not going to reach out to you by phone, email, saying, hey, there's a problem, you need to contact us about verifying information. It doesn't happen that way. If it's legit, you'll get something in the mail, usually. That's more legit because the scammers want to contact you via email, so you respond right away, or by phone, so they have you on the phone and they can get the information immediately. They're not going to usually send you something in the mail. A big one is the grandparent scam. I've seen it through text messages through other towns that send information to us, police departments. I've seen it in our own town where we get the phone calls, seniors get the phone calls. My grandson, my granddaughter was in that bad accident with a pregnant woman. She's in the hospital. They need to do surgery. They need money, or they need an attorney. They need money for that. And unfortunately, people go to the bank while on the phone with the scammers, take out the money, and they say, okay, we'll be at your house in about a half hour, put it in a brown paper bag, in a shoebox, or however they want it. And somebody actually shows up at the house at some of these locations, and they just turn that large amount of money, like $10,000, if not more, over to these people, and they're gone. There has been some successful stories in other towns where the person was witty enough to call the police and say, hey, I just got this phone call, they said they're coming in a half hour. Police were able to set up surveillance, and as soon as they pull up to the house, and they got them. But it doesn't always happen like that. It's very rare that that happens. Usually nobody calls the police. And like Shirley says, a lot of people feel foolish and embarrassed and they don't want to say what happened until it's too late. A big one nowadays are PSE&G workers going to the house. Currently, we do have a PSE&G worker who's legit that has been going around to houses asking about the gas meters and stuff. But that individual actually calls us every day that he's in our town and says, hey, I'm gonna be in this area of Milltown today. Just wanted to give you a heads up in case anybody calls. So we're aware of that. But if somebody shows up to your house, even if it's that guy, you say, let me see your credentials. Ask for the credentials. There's something wrong with that. You're not welcome on my property. Why are you here? So show me your credentials. If you're not happy with that, close the door and call the police and we respond right away. We see too often that the senior community is welcoming and too nice and allows the individual in the home and says, I just need to check your gas meter. And when they go in, their partner sneaks in the back door or in the front door when the other person's distracted and takes whatever they could get, money, jewelry, whatever it may be. And again, we're not trying to scare you. It's just the world we live in nowadays. There's too many people that are looking to hurt us as a community. And I was a victim, almost a victim one time as well with Amazon, like Shirley said. I got a text message and an email right away saying, one of your products, there's something wrong with what you ordered. Verify this information. Don't give any information, right? Go on your Amazon account, see what your orders are, see if that product that they're saying is something you actually ordered. In my instance, I called my wife right away and asked her if she ordered because she does all the ordering. And luckily we were able to not give any information, and we both knew that we didn't order the product that they were trying to say needs verification and additional information. So, like Shirley said, take a moment, take a deep breath, calm yourself down, and say, wait, does this make sense? Let me check my orders and see if I actually ordered something that they're saying needs verification. Okay? And then another website is the Milltown Community Watch. I don't know if anybody's familiar with that, but there's also been scammers on that, and I know people from town that personally been scammed on that to buy ATVs and stuff like that, dirt bikes. So my big thing, Shirley went a lot into the details. I just want everybody to be a little more cognizant of who we're talking to about our money, our personal information. Like I said, everybody in here you can trust, right? Your family members you can trust. I can say my father, he loves to talk to everybody. He'll go out here and just start talking to everybody, but he'll never tell anybody about his banking account information or money. So you could talk to people, that's who you guys are, you're social, you want to make friends, right? But just think before giving out your personal information or money. That's where the scammers are always going to go. They're going to start light sometimes and maybe ask questions about you and want to be interested in your activities and what you guys like to do, but eventually they're going to try to get into your pockets or your bank accounts.
You know,
But,
not question, I was going to say, if you were done, I'm sorry.
almost.
Okay, I'm going to add something that I think is nefarious too, that people, it's happening now.
Yeah. So the main point is, if you get that phone call and your caller ID shows up just a number or out of country or another state, and it should show up somebody you know, it's Ellen, it's Mary, it's Bob, don't answer the number that just shows up a random number. Because the majority of time it is a scam. Sometimes it says potential scam, but sometimes it doesn't. Just don't answer it. I know some people are interested and want to see who's on that other line, but it's not worth it because that day you might have been having a bad day or you feel a little more willing to be nice to somebody, and they'll ask you the wrong question, and you'll give out that information that starts the ball rolling into your bank account. If you know the person on that other line, their name pops up, that's the phone call you answer, you know.
But to leave a message.
Correct. They'll leave a message, or if they really know you, they'll text you, right? So, if you have a problem, if you think you're being scammed, call the local police department. If you live in town, if you live somewhere else, call the local police department where you're at. We'd rather get the calls and stop it before it happens. Okay? Yes, sir.
Well, good.
Does the town still require permits for people who go door to door soliciting?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
That's a great question.
Okay.
And we've been cracking down on that a lot.
Because I occasionally, if somebody comes to the door, if I don't know them or anything, do you have a permit to solicit?
Correct.
I ask them.
You ask them and then give us a call right away, and we'll double check and come out and double check. And we've been, like I said, cracking down a lot. They get a summons. The companies that drop off these people, they know they're supposed to get permits. But they don't care because they say they make more money than the fine's gonna be anyways. So they drop off 5, 8
Unfortunately
people
true.
at a clip.
Oh, that
And
many?
then, yep,
Oh, it's
they spread
unfortunately
them
very
off
true.
different parts of the town, and they don't care. So
Oh, I see.
we could write them as many tickets as they want to get, but it'll stop them for a while, but then they'll come back.
They stopped the Jehovah's Witnesses.
No, they're allowed to go through.
Yeah.
But I just want to reiterate, Shirley's presentation was wonderful. Make sure you look at all those websites, make sure you see those, just read the pamphlets that she gave out. I just wanted to give you more of what we're seeing, what we're getting reported, and if you have any questions, make sure you call us, and we can guide you in the right direction as well, and give you some knowledge additionally from today, if you need it.
Can I mention something? Is that okay? Just that I've had a little, unfortunately, training in some of this, and one of the things that's becoming more prevalent, I don't know how active some of you are in social media, on the web and stuff. Some of you probably are more than others. Doesn't matter what age these days because everybody's into it. But whether it be on Facebook or other groups, or even in emails or in text groups and all kinds of things, okay? A lot of times you're asked questions from people, either friends that are online friends or things like that, about, things like I think, oh, let's have our thing here. Let's talk about our favorite colors or our favorite this or that. This is a phishing type of scam that you don't realize it, but in the long run, what happens is they start knowing all these things like, besides your mother's maiden name, now they're going to know like everything from your favorite thing to your kid's favorite sport to all these things that you might use for passwords or challenge questions. They're finding out about you because you're trying to be friendly with your friends when they play these little online games with you and stuff. Be really careful about what information you divulge, even if they're friends, because even if they're your friend, somebody else is going to see it that may not be your friend. And if people give out information way too freely in games and organizational applications, like even whether it be jobs or things like that are extraneous information you don't need to give out, happens every day. And I've seen people get totally scammed just specifically because of that.
Thank you, and I'll just add one more thing for the phishing, because we are personable. You might have noticed that my bio was kind of generic. I've been taught by AARP that I cannot give out specific information. I'm not hiding anything. We'll probably chat about it when we're here after the meeting. However, the phishing of scammers is getting into things like finding out how many years you've been married,
Right.
how many years. When people ask me how long I've been married in general locations, I go, either too long or forever and happy. But it's like those it's the three phrases, and I'm still happy, and it's all good. But I can't say how many years. I can't say where we were married. I don't even say, my mother's maiden name. But there are things you have to sit there and say, I used to be able to say that, I used to feel comfortable. Don't be comfortable anymore. Be careful, because we're here to protect you. That's all we're doing, is we're protecting our community. And thank you, you brought up some things that, were important. I do want to say there are some scams coming through on text. A lot of recruiters saying I'm recruiting for part-time work.
I've seen that.
And as I might have said earlier, I keep saying the record, junk, and delete have been my new friends in my text. Don't answer them. If it's a company that's a real company, call the company and find out if they have any, if they're recruiting in any sort of form. But if you get a text that says I'm from ABC Company, chances are
They're from XYZ.
you won't get the job and you won't get the paycheck, but they'll get your information because they're going to start for it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
Thanks,
for having us.
Can we get a round of applause, folks? Does anybody have any questions for them? Me, anybody?
I have one question
Okay.
to the officer.
Okay.
Sir, I recently got an application to renew my license. It's expiring soon, and you can renew it in the mail, all right? But you have to write your social security number on this application of motor vehicle. And my daughter is absolutely against it. She says, Mom, it's not safe. What do you think?
So you've got a piece of mail saying you need to renew your license?
Yes.
Well, I don't know online, if you do it online, if they
No, I
ask.
would not do it
You
online.
wouldn't do it online even with their website. But you could just, you have to fill it out, that information. I don't know what Shirley you think about it,
You
but
have to give them your social security.
I've always done it. If it asks for the last four or the whole thing, I'm not sure what it asks you. I always do it. It is from the DMV usually.
You think it's
I
safe?
haven't seen anybody reporting any scams like that.
Because somebody, again, can
If
steal
you
your
really
mail
don't-
from that box.
You
and-
give you a PIN number
If you
now.
really don't feel comfortable, you can always go straight to
Go straight to
DMV
DMV.
and apply for it there. And then if they ask it for it, be like, it should be on file already.
Is it on file?
Because you renewed your
Sure, it's
license.
on file.
Right. So if you don't feel comfortable mailing it back or doing it online, I would suggest going to the actual DMV building, even though that's
Because my
sometimes
daughter
it
said
says.
that, she said, Mom, you could actually, I think by 2025, you have to have a new ID license anyway.
Right, to realize.
So she was willing to take me to a place.
Or when's it
to have
expire?
it. What?
When's it expire?
When does it expire? This August.
Okay, I was gonna say, I didn't know.
Back in October, I think.
Get back in
DM
October.
Yeah, the DMV, the mobile unit is back in October. I
Yeah.
don't have the date yet, I'll post it. when
Yeah,
I
we're gonna
find
get
it.
that
Yeah,
soon.
you just can't wait, she can't wait.
Yeah, no, you, yeah.
Oh, God, how do you turn this thing off?
Swipe it down.
So if you have any questions,
Teenagers know how to do everything.
Just swipe it down, it'll put reject it.
Like a little switch on the side of mine.
You got it quiet?
Oh, we absolutely. I don't
I apologize.
does that answer your question?
Yes.
Any other questions?
Any other questions?
Thank you, Scott.
Well, I'd like to thank Ms. Cuddy for helping me support doing my Eagle project. I'd also like to thank Shirley Bowers for helping me. Also Detective without you, I couldn't do this. And also Mr. Einbonner for recording all this, thank you so much. And also all of you for helping me support me in finishing this. So that means a lot to me.
You gonna-
Good luck.
Congratulations.
I'm going to end off by having light refreshments in the back. Ms. Cuddy, do you want to distribute them, hand them
Well,
out?
you know what, help yourselves, I put them on different plates so you're all good. So, thank
Thank
you
you.
so much, Scott. That was
Have a great day, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
Good job, Scott.
Thank you.